Hello everyone, welcome back to the Orbital Platform. It's custom card time. That's right, it's the final boss of custom card reviews, the Saturday review. And we got 3 people's stuff to talk about today. How are we doing? How are y'all holding up today? Sorry, I take a big old chomp on my sandwich to get energized. Very sorry for the lateness. I slept in today. I woke up at 9, and I was like, oh, this will be fine. You know, I got plenty of time to go over to the house, do some prep stuff. And then you close your eyes for 1 second. All of a sudden, it's 11:15, and you've got to hike yourself up over to... Oh, my God. Well, okay. This rant's over. Shauna Hart, thank you so much for gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community. Holy, thank you so much for your generosity. Oh my god. Copper City, RPK, Blue Gem, Ace Service, and Red Eyes Jacolo. Hope you enjoy your time as part of the Deskbot squad. We're getting things started off really well. Holy cow. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, okay. Well, let's let these notifications go by really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and mute our good friend, the Pizza Tower music. A little pre-work inspiration sounds good. Abso-friggin-lutely. Sorry I'm late. I was in the bathroom. Hey, I'm sorry I was late. I can't control myself. You know, my name might be GoldenNova, but you might also call me Eepy Man. Because I just get eepy so much. And then I get my cozy blankets and I do a little bit of a honk shoe. a random pup. Thank you for gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community to help spread membership into the Deskbot Squad, Flaccid Pancake, Mako Taku, Rune Bun, Serenity Towns, and Wham Bam. I hope you enjoy your time in the Deskbot Squad. That seems like it's time for some Trihorn Pogs, you know what I'm saying? We don't have a train emote for our Earth machines, for the hype train, but I can't think of a more hype emote in our disposal than Trihorn Dragon. Am I seeing custom cards for spaceships? Absolutely. I just took a look at Einzig's submissions as I was getting set up today, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, I'm so happy that you chose these particular cards. So it looks like the notifications are finished. Thankfully, no one else is gonna contribute stuff that's gonna throw notifications on board. So let's just go ahead and get into the comm center, and we will get started. Einzig, I've given you a role in the Discord. If you would like to head by the guest comms segment, I know you put down that you wanted to present. Feel free to swing on by, and we can talk about your sweet, sweet submissions. Okay, I lied. Shauna Hart threw in another tier 1 sub. Hope you enjoy, Zaldreka, because my chat is made of people who want to do silly things. Thank you so much.
What a bunch of goofy goopers.
What a pile of wombly bomblers. Hey, Einzig, how's it going?
That's pretty good, I suppose.
Oh, well. Let's hopefully make it a little better with, it looks like we've got Gradius cards!
Uh-huh. Baby's first attempt at legacy support, I guess.
Ooh. Well, the journey of 1,000 miles and all that nonsense starts with a single option to help you get through those wild bullet hell segments. So, do you fancy yourself a fan of Gradius? Do you enjoy the games?
Personally, I've never played them, but I just found the concept of the way the cards are in the Yu-Gi-Oh! To be interesting to mess with.
Agreed.
They're cool games, though.
Absolutely. It's like you see so many people make custom cards for like for like shows or media that they really enjoy, but there's actually a precedent for it because yeah, the Gradius cards do actually just take those mechanics and translate them to Yu-Gi-Oh, which is just a really cool gateway for those other people to emulate that. It's like official fanfic. I love it.
Yeah, I always just found it strange that Konami didn't try harder to make them actually playable.
I know, right? Like, I would understand it if it was something like Cosmos, a franchise you do not own. This is Gradius.
Yeah. A bit weird, that.
A little bit. Alrighty. Well, unless there's any other intros or information you want to put forward before we get started, I'll go ahead and get the timer started.
Okay.
Alrighty. Also, a random pup. Thank you for donating another tier 1 sub. What? Oh, Einzig, enjoy your sub. It was for you specifically.
Oh, why, thank you.
Alrighty. So, timer started. I've got the list pulled up. It looks like we're starting with Metallian Defense Line as our first one. Field spell card. On activation, you can add a non-union light machine with question mark, 1200, 1500, or 1700 attack, or a card that mentions Gradius, Victory Viper XX03, Delta Tri, or Flint from your deck to your hand except a field spell. You can only use this effect of Metallian Defense Line once per turn. Non-token machines you control gain 800 attack for each option monster you control. The text of level 4 light machines that say, if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, becomes once per turn as a quick effect. Oh ho ho ho! Yes. Okay.
So the whole point was make every bad ship playable specifically, instead of retraining all of them, if possible.
That makes sense. And there is precedent for using field spells to enhance the effects of other monsters to make them more playable. So the idea that we can do... what is it? The only one I think of off the top of my head is Blue Thunder, but that's not added on here right now.
It does have the same text, and it is level 4. I tried to be as, broad as I could, and I actually did look this up. There's exactly one level 4 light machine that's not a spaceship, and it's not relevant.
Oh, okay.
It's helping Robo for combat, which basically just it literally just card traders.
I love it when my robot shows up and goes, "Do not worry, I will defeat them with the frying pan." Okay, but yeah, you're right. It does work with Blue Thunder, and that's like a free token every turn.
Yeah.
Vic Viper has like an attack boost effect, right? Like 1200.
Yeah, Vic Viper Double XO3 has three effects. It's 400 attack boost. It summons a token that always copies its attack and is destroyed when it leaves the field. And actually, it copies all of its stats and attributes and things, which is weird. But also, it has destroys I believe it's a face up card, face up spell or trap, or set one.
Hell yeah. And of course, the 800 attack boost is going to make all of these just fantastic on board because otherwise they're a little lacking.
Yeah, it specifically is a face up spell trap and destroys it.
Cool, cool. Alrighty, wait.
So one caveat of this field spell is that because there's no hard ones per turns on any of the spaceships when they attack over something, if they manage to attack multiple times, they could do it again, like in the case of Lord British. But this kind of makes them all soft once per turns while it's active, which is I don't think it relevantly changes how often many of them will activate their effects anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like what? You get one for running something over, and then one is the free activation. I think that's not too terrible.
Yeah, I did also have a concern specifically with Lord British because it has the attack again thing, which changing the effects text activation, I had concerns wouldn't work properly, but then I read it and it specifically says attack again in a row a second time, which means outside of its proper activation window can't even be attempted to be activated.
Well, there we go. For once, problem solving card text has helped us instead of stood in our way. Thank God. Alrighty, let's move on to Hyperspace Fighter X. Where are you hiding that? Alright.
Uh,
Hyperspace Fighter X is a Link 1 light machine monster with 1200 attack, requiring any level 4 or lower non-union light machine monster. Cannot be used as link material the turn it's link summoned. This card's name becomes Gradius while on the field. When this card is link summoned, set a Metallion defense line from your deck. You can send a level 4 light machine monster or Trigon from your deck to the graveyard to special summon an X option token, which itself is a level 4 light machine, 1200 attack, 1000 defense. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters except light machines. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Alright, folks. Say it with me. The link that searches the field spell is here.
Yay. And you also may notice a trend to be putting non-union on everything as much as possible.
Yeah, I was I was
So
thinking about that. It's like, oh, okay, so we're not playing with the AB seasonal. We're not doing that.
To a degree, I tried to limit that, but not be too restrictive. There's a few cards where it's not that limited, but any combo where I wanted to make it so that any combo where you could like bin a Bee Buster Drake from the deck would like not. I think it's Sea Crush Wyvern. Sea Crush Wyvern actually has Gradius stats. It has a 1200 attack stat.
No way. That's awesome.
It's a level 4 light machine with 1200, so it's basically a fighter.
I love when that stuff happens. So any of our machines turns into our entire deck at this point. And I think people were bringing up in chat earlier that this also works with the silver and gold gadgets, which, that was going to work with the Gradius cards anyway as free monsters. So
Yeah, I did remember that also a while ago, and I thought that's fine. People would already use those cards in Gradius anyway.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we have Metallion Space Fighter N322. A level 4 light fusion monster. Mordred, thank you so much for following here on the Orbital platform. Metallion Space Fighter N322 light machine, level 4, 1200 attack, 800 defense fusion monster. Requires any two non-union light machines with 1700 or less original attack. Must be fusion summoned using the above materials or special summoned from the extra deck by tributing the above cards you control. This card's name becomes Gradius while on the field. If this card is special summoned, you can take a light machine monster with either question mark, 1200, 1500, or 1700 attack from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it, but you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except light machines. And when your opponent activates a card or effect, as a quick effect, you can return this card to the extra deck, negate the activation, Then you can special summon a Light Machine monster with 1200, 1500, or 1700 attack from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Metallion Space Fighter N322 once per turn. Okay.
So, the consideration with this card is I intended it to basically be used by making the token with Hyperspace Fighter X and then tributing them to summon it.
Oh, okay. And then when this goes away, you just get the non-token monster back.
Yeah, basically. Or whatever you linked off to make Hyperspace Fighter X, you can get back with this.
Okay, all right. No, that's pretty solid, actually. By doing that, we put it back in the extra deck so we can make it again. So we have this resource loop going on. And that's an Omni Negate, right? I'm reading that correctly? Carter effect? Oh,
It
yeah.
is an Omni activation negate. It doesn't destroy though. You can use the effect of whatever you summon to like on a new chain, unless you have the quick effect field spell up, which it would. Actually, no. I'm having a brain fart. Since they're quick effects, you can activate them as soon as they hit the field. So you could like use the effect of the fighter you get back just to pop something
Hell yeah.
if it has that kind of effect. Which Lord British I believe has destroy a set card, and uh, Vic Viper has destroy face up spell or trap. And let's see.
But heaven forbid we destroy a monster in this deck. In an archetype based around ships that destroy other ships.
Yeah, this monster destruction by this deck will mostly be by battle, probably.
Yeah, no, I dig. This is a good addition, and obviously it'll get bigger once we get Metallion Defense Line on board, but lacking that, there is some counterplay where you could just run over Metallion, so it's not like some unsurmountable threat, but it's got some cool counterplay going on there. So I dig. All right, next up we have Tandem Vipers. Rank 4 Light Machine Xyz Monster, 1200 attack, 1000 defense, requiring any 2 level 4 non-union Light Machines as material. When this card is Xyz summoned, add a spell or trap card from your deck to your hand which mentions Gradius, Vic Viper X03, or Delta Tri. And you can detach an Xyz material from this card as a quick effect to activate one of these effects, but you cannot activate that same effect of Tandem Vipers again for the rest of the turn. This face-up card's name becomes Delta Tri. Equip a Trigon from your hand, deck, or grave to this card, but you cannot special summon Trigon this turn. If you use this effect during your opponent's turn, you can immediately after this effect resolves activate Dragon Laser from your hand. Oh God. Okay,
Yeah.
number 2, this face-up card's name becomes Gradius. Special summon a Gradius option from your hand or graveyard as if by its own procedure targeting this card. Then you can destroy a spell or trap your opponent controls. Or this card name becomes Victory Viper XX03. Special summon 1 twin option token, level 4 Light Machine, with an attack and defense that's always equal to this card's. Destroy it if this card leaves the field.
Now, the third one probably seems like the worst effect because it does the least, but the funny thing is you can add Power Capsule to your hand with this card.
Oh, you're right.
And Power Capsule can target this card and activate one of its other effects while it's treated as Vic Viper.
Ooh. Okay. And what I like is that that effect isn't once per turn, right? The detached material one?
No. But
So,
it does say you can't use the detach to activate one of its other effects
activate.
itself. The Power Capsule can activate one of its other effects because it's a different card,
Oh, yeah.
but its own effect is limited to activating itself each one only once.
All these effects we can activate the same effect every first turn. Okay, because the way I'm reading it, it sounds like what it's limiting you is from using the same of those options during the same turn.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking of is you go into Victory Viper first, make the twin option token, and because that option token just cares about the card, not its name, once you make the token, you can then use the second material to turn into either Gradius or Delta to try and get those effects.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay, yeah, so it does work like that. That sounds awesome, because that's easily like the first one that you go into just to get a spare monster on board. And then you get all your other stuff, including just getting Dragon Laser online. For those of you who don't know, Dragon Laser is like a full board wipe. It's a little weird to get going because it involves a Dragon Fire Union monster. But once you get it online, especially because it's like a quick play too, so you just like interrupt blast your opponent's field. It's very funny.
Anyways, I started blasting.
Put Danny DeVito in the cockpit. This man loves Gradius. Alrighty, and the last one on our list so far, but maybe we'll get to some other ones if we can get this finished soon enough, is Jade Knight Round Laser. Level 4 Light Machine, 1200 attack, 1800 defense. If you control a Light Machine monster with 1700 attack or 1700 or less original attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Round Laser once per turn this way. While you control this face-up card, the first time each non-union Light Machine with 1700 or less original attack you control would be affected by your opponent's activated spell or trap effects. They are not affected. When this card is summoned, you can activate one of these effects, but you cannot activate that same effect of Round Laser again for the rest of the turn. You can special summon a level 4 or lower Light Machine with 1700 or less attack from your hand. Place a Light Machine monster with 1700 or less attack from your graveyard or that's banished on the bottom of your deck to make a Jade option token. Or set a spell or trap that mentions Gradius, Vic Viper, XX03, Delta Tri, or Flint from your deck to your spell and trap zone. Okay, so this seems like a really good all-rounder.
Yeah. What I did today, mostly when I was editing for last minute, is add a lot more locks to all the cards because of how much they search.
Ah. And what was the one on... was that the one that meant that we could only activate one of these effects per turn?
Mostly it was locking you to Light Machines on the extra deck monsters, and several like there's like another card that's like a continuous spell we haven't talked about yet that has a lock to.
Oh, okay, got it. But yeah, no, this is solid. I know we were talking about the gadgets earlier, but this is kind of like a on-brand version of that. We get this out of hand. Its summon effect from hand doesn't exclude itself, so we can get another Jade Knight out of hand if we want, and then get one of the other two effects. It makes more tokens. It recycles our cards. It gets us our power cards. Yeah, this is like an easy 3-0 for sure.
Yeah. Big Viper T301 being banishing itself if it leaves the field is also a way to use that effect to recycle a banished monster.
Okay. Okay, and let's go ahead and try to... We've got like a minute. Let's see if I can... If it's okay with you, blitz through the rest of these so we can get an idea for what the other cards are supposed to do. Alright, destroy the core. Continue a spell card. Banish a level 4 Light Machine, 1700 or less attack. Any of our Gradius monsters. Oh, we banish it right from the deck. Okay. Special summon a Light Machine with our stated stats, but a different name from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters except Light Machines the turn you activate this effect. There we go.
Yep.
You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, if you control a Gradius, you can special summon a core token, 900 attack, 0 defense, level 2 Light Machine to your opponent's field. And if your Light Machine destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it gains 900 attack. Also, can attack again in a row. Oh my god. That's awesome. And it triggers all of our on-destruction effects.
Yep. Destroy the core being a big phrase from the first game. I thought I needed a card that referenced it.
Hell yeah. Folks, who out there destroying their core? Right, show of hands.
Not on stream, thanks.
You heard it here, folks. We're no longer letting bullet hell players on Twitch. Get them out of here. Alright, option formation, normal spell. Select and activate one of the following. Either add a non-union Light Machine with 1700 or less attack from deck to your hand, or add up to 2 Gradius options from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there. Special summon a non-union Light Machine with 1700 or less original attack from your graveyard. And then lastly, we have Furious Flint Strike. This face-up card's name is treated as Flint. Once per turn, select and activate one of the following effects. If you control Flintlock or Gradius, you can activate this the turn it was set. Target a face-up monster and equip it with this card. Then if you do, add a Flint Missile from your deck to your hand. Or special summon a Flint Lock from your hand or deck and equip it with this card. You can only use the effect of Furious Flint Strike once per turn. Monsters equipped with this card have their effects negated. You can only activate one Flint. You can activate Flint Missile from your hand during your opponent's turn. Also, you can activate the effects of Flint Lock that you control during your opponent's main phase. If this card is sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster left the field, or this set card was sent there by an opponent's card, you can banish this card and target one monster on the field. Equip a flint from your hand or deck to it, then you can set a flint missile from your graveyard to your field, and it can be activated this turn. Okay. We have found the flint card.
I I feel like I had to do a lot with one because I didn't want to split up to too many cards.
Hey, and that makes it particularly powerful for a card that I think had like a pretty good run for a while. There were back in my day when we didn't have no Xyz summoning yet, there were quite a few people who liked running the Flint cards as a budget option to deal with things, and boy howdy was that annoying. And Furious Flint Strike is taking that legacy and running with it. So good job. Good job
Thank
keeping
you.
to the spirit of things.
I tried.
That gets us up to speed with all these Gradius cards. Are there any other synergies? Anything that we want to make sure that we bring up before we move on to the Nova scale?
Let's see. Well, I guess particularly Falchion Beta can just bin a light machine from your deck when it's when it has a quick effect with this field spell up, which is hilarious.
Hey, filling your graveyard has never been a bad thing, especially in
Yeah,
machine decks.
yeah. It also has a monster reborn on it.
Oh well then. How could we
So
say no?
Falchion Beta particularly is a good way to loop resources and get things from deck.
That makes sense. Also, does it just bin specifically light machines?
1200 attack light machines.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good because I was about to go on this whole rant about how, man, boy, you could tech Cyber Dragon in here and use Overload Fusion and blah 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 blah. Wrong, Nova. Incorrect.
I mean,
All right.
theoretically, you can also use Delta Tri with some generic Union monsters that are light machines with this too, since it can just generically get a Union monster from your graveyard.
Oh,
And
true. So that's how we get the Sea Crush Wyvern.
possibly, I mean, any the locks have that are set up how like you have to like do Gradius combos to get to the ABC stuff if you want to. You can't start with ABC.
True. Alrighty. Well, I think we've learned all we can right now. It's time for the Nova scale. So,
Yippee!
novelty. So we got these based off of the Gradius cards. So we're working with our pre-existing framework of light machines that make tokens, that get things when they destroy things. We've enhanced it with Metallian Defense Line to make them a bit more flexible, powerful, utilize them in more situations, give them a bit of a boost so that they aren't just 1200 attack little dinky people being summoned to the board and getting run over by literally any warrior monster. Don't look that up. They're all warrior monsters have more than 1200 attack. Don't quote me on that. Our extract monsters are all pretty good. I like what they add to the theme. We're looking at a lot of tools though that we've seen be used in other themes to make these ones work, which once again, not a bad thing. But unless I'm missing something, I don't think there's like a mechanic in here that I think is wholly ours for this one.
Yeah, this is probably the first full set of archetype support I've ever made. That I dedicated a lot of time to.
And so that would make a lot of sense in that regard. We usually got to start with using what we know to make building blocks on top of that. And once again, not a bad thing, but it means that you're using stuff that you've learned from other cards and applied to this one to make them good. So in terms of novelty, I think it's like a 2.
Fair enough.
Objectivity, though, I still think it's fine. I didn't see any issues with problem-solving card text. The strangest thing that I saw here was, well, of course, Metallian Defense Line might have some weird stuff with the whole turning on destruction triggers to once per turn ignition effects. But like you went through earlier, there's very few situations in which that actually comes up properly. And I don't think there's anything in there that causes the game state to get all fuddly.
Yeah.
The other
Like,
thing is round laser's effect that stops a card from being affected once per turn, which isn't language that's been used yet. Um, but we do have cards that stop things on resolution. So things like Vera is an on resolution negate. We have things like Dingirsu that checks for destruction on resolution. So while being unaffected is something they haven't done with that, there's not a reason it can't be done. So I don't see a reason to act like that's incorrect problem solving card text. So I think all that is fine.
Okay.
Outside of that power level, I think it's all right. You still have to play the core Gradius cards, which by themselves are still really old pre 2010s era cards. Not super powerful. They really do need these new cards to get them over the top. Which and even with their power levels, they just make for a strong core of cards. I don't think they're breaking the format. So 5 out of 5 on objectivity. I think these are just a solid set of cards.
Hooray.
Versatility. There's a big effort here not only to make sure that we keep to the Gradius cards, but even keep some things out that otherwise would work with them, like we said previously. Getting excluding non-union light machines for a lot of these means that it's not impossible to tech in the ABCs, but we can if we want to. It's just not going to be part of the main game plan. Outside of that, the deck really does just focus on its own dealio, but machines by itself is already such a huge has such a huge infrastructure of support that
Hmm.
even if it's not light machines, there's still a ton of machine-esque stuff you could do with these cards. So they're
I
not.
just did remember.
Mhm.
You can actually use the power bond searcher and get power bonded and make Battalion Space Fighter.
Oh.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a machine monster. It lets you fusion summon it normally. You could do it. Oh my god! And if you negate something before your turn ends, you still take the damage? I think, even if it's only 1200, it's like the least threatening power bond you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, while the core cards themselves push you towards playing just the Gradius core of cards, the fact that they are machines and lights means there's a ton of incidental support that you can tech in here just for funsies. So I'm giving it a 3 in versatility. It's not for everyone, but there's a lot of things that you can play with them. And awesomeness, it's Gradius cards, folks. It's freaking sweet ass Gradius cards. How can I say no to that? Perfect 5. These cards are awesome. I like the work that you went into to making these cards, not only giving them what they needed, but using the particular cards and not cards and effects, the objects from the original game to make that happen. I think these are really sweet. This is getting a total of 15 out of 20 on the Nova scale. Excellent work for your first outing. This was pretty solid. Do you have anything else you want to share or talk about before we move on to our next set of cards?
I guess not. Too anxious to interrupt anything else.
I get that. All right, well, hey, no, not no reason. You did really good. Thank you again for sharing all this. Thank you for your time and for your support. And
Mhm.
hopefully I'll see you next month.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you then.
See you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hope to hear your epic voice again soon. I do agree. Einstein's got a good voice. So your attempt at silly tech pick for folks custom cards. That would be funny. If I was quick enough on the draw, I would add that because that is a good segment. And there it is every time. The voice comment. Oh, okay. If it's too much, let me know. I'm very sorry, but no, I think I think it's really good. Speaking of link ones that search the field spell, Magic Key might want something like that. Yeah, agreed. The field spell is really important. I don't know if you saw it, but gold and silver. Oh no, yeah, we brought that up because yeah, you're right. It totally works out. It totally helps with that. It fits in with all those. You can summon it, and they do have. I think you said one of them had the matching attack. Link one that searches the field spell. The link one that searches the field spell. Funny thing, I don't think they print phone books anymore. It would be kind of wild if they did. Like, when was the last time you needed a phone book for anything? Literally, the internet exists. Literally. One has 15, the other has 1700. So they both do. Wild. Incredible. Okay, the wolf is on fire. Pay 2,000 channel points for a bit of a channel announcement. Hey everyone, 'tis Ojama Black again. Our prominent Ojama Lime brother has been jettisoned towards the earth again, and we want to thank you. Thank only kicking him out of the window thrice. Also, he liked Pilk. Yeah, it's good that he was destroyed for that. On top of the other reasons, but also for the Pilk liking. To be honest, I'm not sure that the Link one ever needed to do that, considering how many other cards do lines to get you there. Well, the funny thing I noticed is that a lot of the ones that search the spells put it in the spell and trap zone, which means that you actually couldn't use this to get the field spell because you can't put those in the spell and trap zone. So you would have to use Hyperspace Fighter to grab it. So I think that was actually pretty good. Okay, so let's move on to Clockswork. Clockswork's got some cards for us. Look at these goofy goobers. All right, so we got another series of Mechanimals to add on to here. Alrighty. Wait, no. These are not the right ones. I should be seeing something about Supreme King something or other. It's not this one. Uh-oh. We might have gotten the incorrect link. Uh-oh. Okay, no, here it is. Okay, I found it. Good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, okay. Boom. Okay, we're safe. In my head canon that for some reason the Ojamas are on the orbital platform and well, oh yeah, they're here. As much as I don't want them to be on the orbital platform, the Ojamas are here, and that's part of the issue because their nature is to be at places they're not supposed to be. So by not liking them, it's like inviting them in, and it makes me so mad. Anyway, Clockwork's got some cards. It appears like some kind of Toon, Zark. I think we're going to learn more about these as we talk about them. So let's just go ahead and get started with Zarchfiend cards. This is going to be incredible. The first one to talk about is Zarchfiend Performapal Toon Magician. Okay. Note that all main deck Zark Fiend monsters are combinations of archetypes used by the U-Boys from Arc V and cards used by Millennium item holders from DM. Also, they all have a scale of 0 or 13 as a reference to the Supreme King Gates. Alrighty. So, this has a scale of 13 as a level 7 Dark Spellcaster, 2500 attack, 2100 defense. As a pendulum spell, once per turn you can discard a pendulum monster to activate one of these effects. Either special summon a face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions, or add a Supreme King spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. As a monster, this card is always treated as an Archfiend card. Cannot attack the turn it is summoned. When this monster declares an attack, you can pay 500 life points to make it a direct attack. When this monster leaves the field, you can add a Dark Pendulum monster from either your grave or face-up extra deck to your hand. Okay, so despite having Toon in its name, it's not a Toon monster. It has the attack can attack the turn at summoned restriction, but it does let you attack directly at the cost of 500 life points without needing any help from anything. And it recycles you a card, and as a pen scale, it lets you summon pendulum monsters ignoring summoning conditions. This means you can grab, I presume, you can grab a properly summoned Zephyrath out of your face-up extra deck, though it will have had to be properly summoned the first time because the face-up extra deck is not a hidden information zone, so it would be kind of like trying to summon out Flying Fortress Skyfire from the graveyard with Dark Flat Top before it's been properly summoned. This is already turning into a clusterfuck, and I am so happy for it. Next up is Supreme King's Shadow Eye. It's a continuous spell card. If you do not control an Archfiend card, destroy this card. Your opponent must play with their hand revealed. If your opponent special summons one or more monsters with 2,000 or more attack, you can add one of those monsters with 2,000 or more attack to your hand. You can only activate the effect of this card once per turn. When this card, while this card is face up in your Pendulum Zone, you can Pendulum Summon with it, treating it as a scale 0. It's a pendulum. Forget pendulum monsters. This is literally a pendulum spell. Huh? Folks, these cards are amazing. They're okay. So obviously you need to have the Archfiend on board or else it destroys itself. But all of these are Archfiend, so that's fine. You get to see your opponent's hand. You get to not take control of, but put one of their high attack monsters into your hand when they're special summoned, and it's a scale 0. Huh? Okay, alright. No, I'm on board with this. I'm so on board with this. Slifer okay, 1 second. No, I gotta pull this up. Slifer the Starving Venom Zarchfiend Dragon is a level 10 divine beast monster with question mark attack and defense. The Zarchfiend gods all have gimmicks around banishing monsters as a reference to how in the English anime, losers of Shadow Duels are banished to the Shadow Realm. So, its material are 3 dark monsters on the field except tokens. This card is always treated as an Archfiend card, must be fusion summoned, and cannot be special summoned by other means. Cannot be attributed or used as material for the summon of an extra deck monster. Cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. This monster's original attack and defense are equal to the number of cards in your hand times 1,000. While this card is face up on your field, all monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned lose 2,000 attack. If a monster destroyed by battle with this card or its attack is reduced to 0 by this card's effect are banished. Once per turn as a quick effect, you can send face-up pendulum monsters in your extra deck to the graveyard to target one of your opponent's banished monsters. Until the end of this turn, this monster gains attack and defense equal to that monster's attack and defense and can use that monster's effect. During the end phase, flip that banished monster face down. Wow, that is a mouthful. Okay, so this power creeps Trifio Veritum, because it's like the same material. Has a lot of protections on it. Can't be destroyed by battle card effect. Looks like it can be targeted, though. It has the Slifer effect for the attack. It has Slifer's attack reduction, but it doesn't trigger on summon. It's just a constant 2,000 debuff that banishes anything that it hits to 0, and it also banishes everything it destroys by battle. You can send face-up graveyard. You can send face-up pendulum monster. I assume it's send a face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, because you wouldn't need to banish multiple of them. Target one of your opponent's banished monsters, and then it gains the Starving Venom effect of copying, but only for our opponent's banished monsters. Oh, wow. Good Grimbly Wimbly. Ultimate branded counter. Yeah, I mean, it fuses away all the dark monsters you put on board as a branded player, and you can't Albaz this because it cannot be used as material for an extra deck monster. However, hilariously enough, this is still outed by Mirror Jade. Because it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, but it can be targeted or destroyed by card effects, but it can still be banished by them. So, no, let's keep that in mind. Wow, this card is good. Okay, fourth card, Zark, Supreme King of Shadows, Link monster. Okay, this card is based on Lord Zed from Power Rangers and is a play on Zork Necrophades and Supreme King Zark. Yeah, so they are playing on the idea that Zork and Zark are very similar, and I always wanted there to be an actual connection between the two. It's not become canonized, but I think it would be very funny if they did. Okay. Zark, Supreme King of Shadows, is a Link 6 Dark Fiend monster, 2700 attack, requiring 4+ monsters, including a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Pendulum. And this card is always treated as an Archfiend, Zarchfiend, and the Unworldly card. Must be Link summoned or special summoned by banishing 7 Supreme King Shadow cards with different names. Oh, must be Link summoned or special summoned by banishing 7 Supreme King's Shadow cards with different names from your graveyard, and cannot be special summoned by other means. Cannot be attributed, and is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. Gains attack equal to the number of banished cards times 100. So if you banish the 7 Supreme King Shadows, this is 3,400. At least. Once per turn, you can either move one monster your opponent controls to the main monster zone this card points to, or special summon a face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck to a main monster zone this card points to. When one or more monsters in zones this card points to battles, after the damage step, you can banish cards from your opponent's hand, field, and or graveyard equal to the level, rank, or link rating of each of those monsters. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon a Vile Mechanimal Supreme King Dragon Zarchfiend from your extra deck to the zone this monster was in. That's right! It was hidden Mechanimal lore support all along! Golly. So I feel like you want to bin the Supreme King Shadows to get this summoned. Doing all this to get this on field seems a tad much, but is a reference to original Zark, so I'll let it slide. Gets big, unaffected by card effects. Banishes your opponent's cards out of nowhere. Just summon something big, banish a whole bunch of your opponent's cards. And then if it somehow goes to graveyard, though this is an if that has no restriction on it, so you can link this off or something to get another monster, which we're going to next on this list. Vile Mechanical Supreme King Dragon Zarchfiend. Based on Lord Zed's completely unstoppable Zord Serpentera, whose only weakness was the fact that it constantly burned through its fuel supply too quickly. This is a Link 8 Dark Machine monster with 4,000 attack, requiring 4+ monsters, including a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Pendulum monster. And this card is always treated as an Archfiend and the Unworldly card, and is also a Dragon type. It must be Link summoned or special summoned by the effect of Zark, Supreme King of Shadows, and cannot be special summoned by other means. Cannot be attributed, used as material for the summon of an extra deck monster, is unaffected by all card effects except its own, and cannot be destroyed by battle. During either player's standby phase and end phase, you must banish one Pendulum monster from your graveyard face down, or return this card to the extra deck. Gains attack equal to the number of banished cards times 100. Each time one or more cards are banished, place a Z counter on this card for each card banished. During your battle phase, you can remove a multiple of 10 Z counters from this card. For every 10 counters removed this way, it can make an additional attack this battle phase. When this monster battles during the damage step, banish cards from your opponent's hand, field, and or graveyard, except for a monster currently battling this card, equal to this monster's link rating, which is 8! If this card destroys a monster by battle, banish it, then banish cards from your opponent's hand, field, and or graveyard equal to the level, rank, and link rating of that monster. Woof. Woof. That's a lot of power in that. Yeah, so this is kind of like an instant win button for sure. Like, it might burn through its reserves too quickly, but like what, you're banishing one pendulum from your graveyard phase down every turn? That is so doable. That is supremely doable. Holy calzone. Okay, I I think we have to read the lore card now. We have to get that taken care of. I don't know if we have time for much else, but we can honor the lore that's been written for this one. So, Story of Meccan, the one known only as Z. The Supreme King of Shadows, known only by the initial Z. Some say he was once a man who obtained godhood by consuming the flesh of 4 dragons. Others say he was a mad priest who stole 7 mystical items, and few even claim that he is simply the vessel of a dark and malicious god. Regardless, he is feared throughout the galaxy, and after sealing away the witch for her failures, he is prepared to show the Mechanites exactly why Z is the last letter of the alphabet, for after Z, nothing remains. That goes hard. That's awesome. Okay. There's too much to go through for the rest of the time of this video, so we're gonna go ahead and call it here and do the Nova scale. But wow, wow. Okay, so Bakura, Merrick, and Zark. It seems like it. Okay, so novelty. Well, so we're drawing from a bunch of established archetypes and stuff already. Performapals, Archfiends, the God cards even. There's a ton of different archetypes and you know, media-wise, of course, Lord Zed. So we're drawing from a bunch of stuff. But the fact that these are the things being combined that otherwise have such little synergy with each other is kind of like a new thing all on its own. Now, what they do is up. How unique with what they do, though, is up for debate, right? Like, from the cards that we saw, this Toon Magician does something similar to regular Toon Dark Magician, is just better. Shadow Eye is a... This one is pretty wild. We don't have very many cards that steal our opponent's monsters and put them into our hand. And we don't have very many cards that let us look at our opponent's hand, though we do have a few of them. I guess namely Triple Tack, actually. So, you know, that's probably a little, a bit of a mark on that. Slifer is very, very clearly a combination of Slifer plus Starving Venom. Supreme King Starving Venom with a little extra juice on there. And then the 2 Zarks are just... I guess these are probably the most mechanically unique out of all of these. Because I don't see the bones of any other cards in this. Aside from, of course, what their visual representation is. But, like, mechanics-wise, the closest thing is that their material is reminiscent of Zark. But in terms of flavor, it is undercut by the fact that they are just kind of win the game buttons. They are very, very strong. I can't imagine a board state in which these are outed. I'm gonna give a 3 in novelty. I think that the audacity of some of these cards is enough to just give them their own distinct flavor, even if some of that is stuff that's just, like, so powerful that it wins the game. Objectivity. Oh, God. Okay, so obviously the printed way to summon these cards are both impossible. We're not going to be doing that. So the question would be, how easily can we throw 7 continuous spell cards into the graveyard? Well, they are spell cards. Oh, God, they're spell cards that are also pendulum scales. Oh. So you could play cards like Monster Gate, Reasoning. That grass looks greener. There's actually a lot of cards we can use to bin a variety of spell cards very, very easily. So I don't think it's out of pocket to say that making this is fairly easy. And of course, any deck that runs these ones gets their bonus effects, and it counts as scale, so you can use these regularly in a bunch of other decks just to get their little bonus effects. Oh, I guess not, because you need to have Archfiends on board to actually use these on-field effects. I think my objectivity here is also a 3. I'm worried about the power level of these cards. It might be a little difficult to field them, and they're like, but I think you might be able to stop this before it gets to that point. And there are a ton of decks that are like really that powerful. They're just never getting to that game plan because your opponent's going to play the game. Really quickly, first off, Tobido, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you're doing good. And also, thank you for the tier 1 sub from Power Sharing for 13 months. Almost a year since I found you. Love the archetype breakdowns. As someone who came into the game later in the lifespan, it's helped me to educate myself on a lot of things that would normally crush me if I had no clues to their game plan. Power Steering, thank you for being around for so long and helping support things around here. It's wild. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that I could help out. That's like my goal is to help people get into and hopefully stay in this game by giving them an accessible breakdown of the cards. So I'm glad to hear that it's working out. What's the gimmick behind this collection of customs? The gimmick is that they're a mix of Arc V and Dual Monsters villain cards cranked up to 1 million. Okay, so versatility. So we are forced to play Archfiend cards to keep the Supreme King Shadow cards in here. Which does mean that randomly there are a few archetypes that have an Archfiend in them that we can just play these in and get their effects with. Their scales are huge, so they help you summon anything. 0 to 13 with no restriction on their scales, as far as we've seen, is buggered. Slifer is now the de facto fusion, a super polymerization target. To say nothing of the other cards that we haven't had a chance to look at because we sadly can't take a look at all of them here. But there is actually a fair amount of cards that we could play in other themes. So the versatility here is, funnily enough, also a 3. And then awesomeness. Look. Okay, I'm going to get real with you. So, coming real close. I want to have a conversation with you. Okay, so, here's the thing. So, a lot of the time, I see customs being berated for being way too powerful. Having auto-win buttons. Just slap some text on a card, and it's really powerful. You know what? I can kind of get that. It is a little disappointing sometimes to see design spaces being overwritten by cards that are just way too powerful. That kind of like flatten all the design choices that came beforehand. It makes things very uninteresting. So I can understand why there are some people who, look at cards all around this area and say, "Oh, well, customs are lame, customs are bad." I reject all of those people. These cards are wild. Someone took the fact that Zork and Zark are similar words from big ol' villains, smashed their eras of cards together, and made the absolutely most bonkers series of support to go along with them. I don't care who you are, but if you think that conflating the Dimension Dragons with the Egyptian gods and then combining the Performa Pals and the Toon Monsters together into the same archetype while turning the Millennium Objects into actual cards is lame, I don't know what to tell you. Stop it. This isn't for you. This just is not for you. These cards are getting a 5. I think they rock. These are cool. Do I hope they ever get printed? No! These cards would ruin the format, but for now, these are getting a 14 on the Nova scale. Love to see it. Hell yeah. Thank you, Clockswork, for your submission. The Millennium items or cards? Yeah. The Shadow King's Spring King's Shadow Puzzle, Shadow Eye, Rod, Necklace, Ring, Key, Scale. It's all here. It's all here. And they're all pendulum scales, too! So let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Alrighty. So that leaves us with our last submission for the day from Rex Raptar. Okay. So they've got some notes here. Each card is separated by real cards, so if you want to do the first one of each person's gift, then that's 5. Should be Call of the Sword Soul Disciples, Cosmo Toto, Rose Dragon Chick, Land Corrupted by the Illswarm Virus, and Gold Mill Coach for Hire. Who's on here? Sword Soul of the Dancing Blades. Oh my god. Okay, well, it's just us here. Let's go ahead and try to power through these ASAP. I don't know which one's getting the Nova scale, but I'll let unless Rex Raptar is here, I'll let chat decide. We'll see which one of these gets the Nova scale. But for now, let's go ahead and begin our journey, starting off with Calling of the Sword Soul Disciples. It is a quick play spell card. Tribute 1 synchro monster you control. Special summon 2 Sword Soul monsters from among your graveyard or face-up banished cards, but their effects are negated, and if you do, you can treat one of them as a tuner. You can banish this card from your graveyard to synchro summon a synchro monster using only worm monsters you control. Interesting graveyard effect. I have a feeling that they wanted to utilize this as a quick play, a quick speed effect to sync at times you normally wouldn't be able to, but I don't think that's the case. As a spell card, even if it is a quick play in the graveyard, it can only be activated at spell speed 1, so I'm not sure if that works in that scenario. But being able to turn one of your synchros back into component Sword Soul pieces, they don't even have to match the level, you just get 2 Sword Soul monsters, does mean that you can avoid targeted interaction, you can get some materials back, get a new on-summon effects. So that's pretty nifty. New synchro monster, Sword Soul of the Dancing Blades, level 8 Earthworm synchro monster, 2700 attack, 1600 defense. Requires a tuner and 1 Sword Soul monster as material. We can only use 2. 2 material for this. You can banish 1 Sword Soul card or worm monster from your hand or graveyard to send a Sword Soul card from your deck to the graveyard, or banish a Sword Soul card from your deck. So that's basically the Swordmaster, right? During the main phase, you can activate one of these effects. Special summon a Sword Soul monster from your hand or graveyard, or banish a monster on each field, but special summon them during the end phase. Okay, so you either get back a Sword Soul, or you get a bit of a Tep banish, which will trigger Grandmaster. It's pretty cool to have some Sovereign tech. Okay, moving on to Cosmos. Cosmo Toto, level 1 light psychic monster, 400 attack, 1100 defense. Has the usual Cosmo quick effect, banish a summon a level 2 or higher Cosmo from the hand. If your life points are equal to or lower than your opponent's, you can special summon this card and a Cosmo Psychic from your hand. If a Cosmo monster is banished, you can add a Cosmo monster from your deck with a different type than the banished monster, and if you do, discard a card. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So, it doesn't summon from deck, so it just gets your cards out of your hand, but that's pretty good. You want them out of your hand as much as possible without using your normal summon. So you summon this. It's also an E-Tele target, but that's the deck in general. If a Cosmo is banished, so what happens is that you have to banish the other one first and then get the summon, and then on a new chain, you get the other Cosmo card. So you can't, go, I summon Toto and I summon, let's say Strawman. I banish Strawman and then use Toto to get a machine in hand to summon that off that same chain, because that second effect is not a quick effect, or that last effect, rather. That last effect is not a quick effect, it's a trigger effect, and trigger effects go on a new chain after they've met their activation. which is why it sucks when things like that miss timing, because then you won't be able to do that. This one doesn't, thankfully, but you would need to be able to fulfill all of that first before Toto comes in. But that being said, you do still get to search a bunch of different kinds of Cosmos depending on the situation. It can tag out for something once it's under threat of battle, and it discards cards, so you can set up your graveyard for things like I think it's Strawman. No, Strawman summons from Banished, I think. It's Sword Trooper. Sword Trooper summons from graveyard, so that helps with that. All right. Run to Cosmo Town. Continue a spell card. When this card is activated, you can place a Cosmo Town from your deck face up in your field spell zone. Once per turn, if this card is in your field zone, if a card in the field zone would be sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can destroy a machine monster in your hand specifically instead. During the end phase, if a psychic monster you control was banished this turn, you can add a Cosmo monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one Run to Cosmo Town per turn. This reads a lot like that new Fire King Sanctuary card, and I'm not complaining. It's effectively fixed the idea of giving a deck multiple field spells by turning them into continuous spells that act as the field spell. You get that into rotation, you can do hand fixing, you can recover your banished cards. Sadly, it only destroys machines specifically, and only those in your hand. But the funny thing is that it pops machines in general, not just Cosmo ones. So if you're teching in any machines, those can be used to save it as well. But the main reason is to pop your Cosmo machines, so you can get the summon effect off. That's pretty good. And it lets you search a card whenever you banish a Psychic Cosmo, which is what you want to be doing every turn. So Run to Cosmo Town is a busted piece of support for the theme, and I want to see it printed right now. Okay. Rose Dragons. Rose Dragon Chick, level 2, Fire Dragon monster, 400 attack, 200 defense. If you control a Rose Dragon monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is used for the synchro summon of a Garden Rose monster, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. If you have no cards in your graveyard or on the field, as a quick effect, grave or field, that's hilarious. You can reveal a Rose Dragon in your extra deck, then send monsters in your hand to the graveyard whose total levels exactly equal the revealed monster, including at least one Rose Dragon tuner. And if you do, special summon the revealed monster. This is treated as a synchro summon. No cards in your graveyard or on the field. You can reveal one Rose Dragon, then send the monsters from your hand to the graveyard. Where does that effect activate? That's my question. Because we can special this in the hand, so that's fine. If we use it for Garden Rose, we get to have it for free. That's fine. If you have no cards in your graveyard or on your field, like, this is weird, right? Because it implies that Rose Dragon Chick would be neither. This would not activate in either the hand or the field or the graveyard, because you need to have no cards in either of those zones. So where does this activate? Is this in the hand? Because if it's in the hand, that's ridiculous. Because if you're going second, you activate this effect in hand as a quick effect. Quick Sync Rose Dragon. And then you pop the Beal. Seems like hand sync. It would have to be, but we don't have a specification on that one. Oh, that's a bit of a doozy. I'd love to know for certain. But yeah, if it works that way, that's pretty powerful. Plasty Budding. A level 2 Fire Plant Pendulum monster with 200 attack and 1000 defense. This card is not a pendulum card. This card is not a pendulum card, and is support made for Borg with a Shotgun's Plasty archetype. Well, then why? Oh, it's that they're putting that in there as a way to section off this little disclaimer segment. Okay, the link does not work. Okay, so it's not a pendulum monster, so we're just ignoring all that. This card's name becomes Plasty Seed while in the hand, deck, or graveyard, or on the field. If you control no monsters, or you control only Plasty monsters, you can special summon this card in attack position. You can target one monster your opponent controls as a quick effect, change its type, and if you do, you can change it to attack position. It doesn't say the part where you declare a type, so I assume that would be part of it. You contribute this card as a quick effect to special summon a one level 1 Plasti Seed from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use each effect of Plasti Budding once per turn. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, we see a lot of customs here. So without having access to the originals, it's hard to remember exactly what the Plasties do. I remember there being... I forget if it had something to do with Phoenician Cluster Amaryllis, or if that was someone else's support. I'm very sorry for conflating people's stuff together. But on the face of it, being able to swap out for a named monster seems pretty good. Sadly, I don't have much else to say about it. I wish I did. Very sorry I don't have more on that one. Let's move on to the next one. Evil Swarm Heliotrope. The Helios. They were the guys who could take over monsters. Right. And that's why that was the type changing, because they had to match type, right? Or was something involving that. Anyway. Land corrupted by the Illswarm virus. Field spell card. You can only activate... you can activate one infestation trap the turn it's set. Neat. During your main phase, you can make all Illswarm monsters you control level 4. Then all monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's next turn. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon up to 2 Illswarm monsters from your hand or graveyard, but their effects are negated. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon an Illswarm monster from your hand, or Xyz summon an Illswarm Xyz monster. You can only use each effect of land corrupted by the Illswarm virus once per turn. Okay, so being able to activate your set infestation traps is huge, because we have some that are pretty useful to help keep things going. Making them all level 4 means that they all now function as material for the various Illswarm Xyz monsters. And I do like how this is worded, because while the Xyz summon seems like the go-to one because of all those famous Illswarm Xyz monsters, this also means that you can tribute summon the Steel Swarm Monarch monsters to get their effects at quick speed in response to this, and we have 2 material for it. This does mean that unless we have another Illswarm on field already, we can't summon Hercules, but we do have things like, I think it was Kostag or something. One of them is either a Raigeki or a Harpy's Feather Duster, and honestly, that's more than good enough. So, heck yeah, that's awesome. Evil Swarm Xeno, level 4, Earth, Reptile Monster, 1950 attack, 850 defense. If you control an Illswarm monster, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add an Illswarm monster from your deck to your hand, Stratos. If an Illswarm monster is tributed, you can special summon an Illswarm monster from your deck during the next standby phase. Okay. Though this has to stick around for it. It's not like if this monster is tributed. Okay, I dig. It's a search, it's a free summon, and it potentially replaces monsters that were tributed for your big tribute monsters. Not bad. Radagaver, thank you so much for following here on the Orbital platform. I hope you'll enjoy your stay, especially while we're talking about some sweet customs. Okay, we have 2 left. This one is for Fur Hires. First is Gold Mill, Coach for Hire. Level 4 Light Reptile Monster, 1300 attack and defense. If a monster for hire is normal or special summoned, you can special summon this card from your hand. During the main phase, you can special summon a monster for hire from your hand except this card, and if you do, you can return a card for hire you control to the hand. If a monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can... Oh, I think there might be a missing effect here. If a monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, except in the damage step. Oh no! Oh no! Gold Mill's not finished! Oh no! Okay. So, not looking at that. Monster for hire special. So this gets summoned if you summon another for hire, which automatically will activate the first for hire's effect if it's one of those. During the main phase, summon a for hire monster from your hand. So this one has the same effect that summons for hires from your hand, but also has an additional effect on it. It optionally returns a for hire monster to your hand, which is actually really cool. We can put Rex back in our hand so we can get the on summon search effect again. We can get a card like Raphael back into our hand so we can summon it back to use its effect. This is actually not that bad. I just wish that we knew what the last effect was now. Okay, last card, Falanta, the first strike kill. That's awesome. You can normal summon a monster for hire in addition to your normal summoner set. If this card was activated this turn, your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to your level 5 or higher for hire your level 5 or higher monsters for hire effects. You can pay 1,000 life points, reveal 3 monsters for hire in your deck. Your opponent randomly picks 1 for you to add to your hand. Also shuffle the rest into your deck. You can only use this effect of Falanta, the first strike guild, once per turn. Okay, so it's a search every turn. The turn it's activated, our higher leveled for hires can't be responded to, and it's an additional normal summoner set, which is fantabulous for almost any deck out there. I dig. Okay, so we've covered all these customs at breakneck speed, but now we can only do a Nova scale for one of them. I can't do 5 Nova scales. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, if I can't do 5 Nova scales, that'll take too long. So, which one are we going to see Nova scaled? Sadly, though, it's not a for hire monster. Well, it's not a monster at all. It's the first strike guild. that was really good. Rex, excellent work there. Good job. Stretching. Oops, it's another part of my bed. No, you're good. You're good. I would probably say we shouldn't do the for hires for the scale because Gold Mill is not complete, unfortunately. I'm seeing something for the Sword Soul cards. Do we want to scale the Sword Soul cards, or do we have any others that we want to get looked at? Sword Soul. I'm seeing a second on Sword Soul. Okay, we'll just do the Sword Soul one. All right, Nova scale. So, novelty. So, Sword Souls are worms. They love synchro summoning. What do these do that is different from the norm? Well, I do like that Calling of the Sword Soul Disciples is a quick play. A quick play desynchro. It gets your materials back. Their on-field effects don't work anymore, but that's why it lets you turn one of them into a tuner, so you don't have to make the token again. It does get us back cards like Moyi for the draw, Taya for the mill. We can get back Longyun for the burn if we need to, and to, of course, make a big level 10 synchro. Heck, you could bring back 2 Longyuns and make a level 12 synchro. We all love those, don't we? So it's cool to have that. Dancing Blades does read a lot like at least the on-summon effect of Swordmaster. The quick effect is pretty nifty. I wouldn't call them new effects, but we have seen them. Those are no locks, so you can make the generic synchro. Technically, we do have to use it with a Sword Soul. It's a tuner and a Sword Soul monster. It doesn't say non-tuner, so I guess it could be made with 2 tuners, like our good friend Visas, Amritara. But we do need to have a Sword Soul monster, so it is locked to this archetype. Oh, on the spell. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. We can use it on any of those synchro monsters, so we can dodge any of the we can dodge. We can use it on any of our synchros to dodge interaction or to just trade them in. You're right. Okay, my apologies. That's on me. So I think as far as novelty goes, I think we got to give it a 2. There's a few things going on here that are. Oh, we'll give it a 3. We'll give it a 3. There's the quick desynchro, and there's the kind of control-y aspect of the. Well, I guess it's kind of a control deck anyway. I guess I just like the quick effect banish from both fields effect. It's like a funny little DPE. I just think it's cute, so we'll just do a 3 on novelty. Objectivity. I think that the cards themselves are fine. I really am just hung up on the fact that Calling of the Sword Soul Disciples has a grave effect that doesn't do anything. If it triggered on being banished, that would make sense, because then it could be activated at a time you otherwise you normally wouldn't be able to. Like, you could banish it from your graveyard for Swordmaster for the negate and then perform a synchro summon right after that. But banishing it from your graveyard to synchro summon using only worms is something that you could just do as a player action anyway. You can't battle phase sync? No, because this is a grave effect. And even though it's a quick play spell card, while it's in your graveyard, the only thing that the game checks is if it's a spell or a trap card. If this was a trap card, we could do battle phase syncing no problem. But as a spell card, we can only activate this as spell speed 1, so we can't do that at any other time. It's pretty goofy. It's pretty goofy. So I think this is a 4 on objectivity, just because I feel like that was the intention, was to use it as a quick syncing enabler, but it just didn't come through in this. So I'm just giving it a 4 on objectivity. Versatility. You can tribute any synchro monster for calling, but you do need to have Sword Soul monsters to summon off of it. So you have to be playing Sword Souls to make that work with them. And Dancing Blades needs a Sword Soul as material. Now, granted, that does still mean that we can play them in the worm piles, because Lord knows that the Sword Soul worm pile isn't large enough. So we have some synergy with that one. If the Sword Souls ever get splashed into other decks, this gets used, but because the Sword Souls rely so much on having worms and other members of their theme to make their effects work, it's not stupendously likely, so I'm giving a 2 in versatility on here. But I do think the cards are incredibly cool. They're lore cards. I like how they function. I like the idea behind it. I'm giving it a 5 in awesomeness. So this is going to be a 14 on the Nova scale for the Sword Soul cards specifically. Maybe in the future some of these categories will be fleshed out and we'll have a chance to look them over in the future. Alrighty. Folks, thank you all so much for stopping by. A huge thank you to all of the generosity that was showed this stream. I did not expect to turn on stream today and be hit with like 13 gifted subs today. Y'all are gems. You all are amazing. Thank you all so much. We are coming up on our last day of customs for last month. These are technically the December custom card reviews. Tune in. I believe it is 6 p.m. tomorrow, where we are doing the Sunday custom card review stream. We have 3 people's stuff to look at, and all of them are all stars. I can't wait to see what they're bringing to the table. I'm gonna click the socials button as per usual. Nope, it's wrong zone to type in the socials thing at. It's supposed to be this one. There we go, folks. As usual, clicking all those buttons makes me very happy. You can check out my Twitter, where I post all of my announcements. The Discord, where we all hang out. If you have some custom cards you want to share, then the Discord is completely free to join, and there's a segment there that you can just talk with people at and show off your cool little customs. And my YouTube channel, where I just posted episode 5 of the Living Lore of the Dual Terminal. That episode took like weeks of time to finally put together script, voice, get all that stuff edited together. I'm really, really happy with it. I'm very glad I could make another installment in that series. It's been far too long. Thank you all for your patience. Please give it a watch. It's like my favorite thing to do on this channel. And lastly is my Patreon. If you want to help support independent creators like myself, and of course all your other ones that you really, really like, it's very, very helpful for them to have a source of income that is not dependent on YouTube's ad revenue algorithm, so that they can maintain a healthy living. Directly supporting your favorite content creator does a lot for their peace of mind, including myself. If you have a few dollars, it would mean the world to me if you would consider sending in a few of them my way. And of course, you get early access. You get access to these custom card reviews. You got to be put in the credits. I think it's a pretty good value for what you're getting. That's all from me today. Thank you all so much. Once again, I will see you tomorrow for the last of the custom card review streams. Who are we rating today? Who is going to weather our storm? Oh, we haven't rated GG Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long-ass time. We'll send it over to GG. Laura? Okay, yeah, we'll send it over to Laura. We'll send you over to the Benz. Alright, folks. Thank you all once again. Enjoy watching some Master Duel gameplay. Send Laura all the best. And as always, I will see all of you next time. Bye-bye.